So we finished raking about 12:30 this afternoon, and because of the forecast that's coming up maybe as early as, well, it's 3 o'clock now, so as early as 3 o'clock this afternoon we could be getting 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts and some thunderstorms. One weather app says no rain, another weather app says 20% chance of rain. So Sam just decided it would be better. The hay's dry enough, so he's going to go ahead and just start baling it. It's always funny to me, those bales are perfect and rectangular and bright green and they look great. Those bales are kind of brownish, sort of greenish, and it's just because when you bale hay that was left over in the baler from the second cutting, the one behind it is third cutting. These two over here are third cutting, and that's why they're a brighter green, because it's the fresh hay from the ground, not some of the dried out hay from before. I'm a little bit concerned about the shape of these two on the left, just because they're not as rectangular. And I know last cutting Sam was having problems with one of the knotters and there were a couple bales that didn't come out right. So I don't know if this is just getting the tension and everything right for this hay, because like I said, those other two, those look perfect. But so that's the baling, and then there's Sam with the baler, and it's awesome. I don't know if I ever mentioned, the baler has an accumulator, so it'll hold 3 bales at once. So it makes a bale and it moves it to one side or the other, makes a bale, moves it to one side or the other, and then the third bale stays in the middle. And then Sam can kind of decide where he wants to drop them. And so as much as possible, he tries to bring them up here by the road. So when we have to get the hay off the field, it's a lot easier. And it looked like, for whatever reason, probably just because he was up here by the road, he didn't have it accumulate 3. That one was ready, so he just dropped it up here, and now it's working on making another bale. And depending on where he is in the field when it's finished, he might have it moved to the left or the right, and then bring them back up here and drop them by the road. So what will happen probably tomorrow is, with the red tractor, I will make stacks of 2 bales, one on top of the other, and then Sam can pick them up with the blue tractor and we'll put them on the trailer and drive them back to the house and make a stack. The hay, as I told you, the windrows just seem giant compared to the last cutting. It really looks more like our first cutting hay, so it'll be interesting to see how many bales we end up getting from it. There were 144 in the first cutting, 63 in the second cutting, so yeah, it'll be a fun game to find out how many. So that's the baling part of the day. Good morning. It is Thursday, and as you can see, it's a little less smoky. As you can see, we got the field all baled, and as you can also see, the track is very wet. It is not because we ran the pivot last night. It's because we got about 1/4 inch of rain in a very short amount of time. So, unfortunately, all of the bales are a little bit wet, which is not optimal for hay, but we're hoping that it helped the firefighting efforts of the Durkee fire and all the fires that are around us. Before the rain started, there was a whole bunch of lightning, and I think like 200 new lightning fires started, but I think most of them were pretty small, and they were able to get them out pretty quickly, or the rain came along and helped put them out. So as far as I know, there's no big new fires in the area, which is awesome. We'll take a little bit of wet hay to not have to worry as much about fire. And then the other nice thing is, even if it didn't rain directly over the turkey fire and help put it out. It hopefully, well, I know the area around here, the ground is all very wet right now. So even the very far back that you can just barely see, the edge of the dirt right here, and that's the fire break we cut along the fence, and then the kind of brownish stuff back there is the back part of the property. So all of that, even though it's dry grass, is now wet. The ground under it and everything around it is wet. So if the fire does continue to move this way, hopefully the wet ground will help slow it down or stop its progress. So Sam came out this morning. There were 11 bales on the big pivot side by the house, and he moved those down into the corner where the hand lines don't hit it and the pivot doesn't hit it, so that we could at least start watering the field again, because it was all pretty dry because we hadn't watered for a week. And you can tell just in that little quarter-inch of rain that we got last night, it has really perked up the plants. So we want to get watering as soon as possible. So what I'm out here doing, we started the little pivot walking. There's one bale on the other side of the little pivot that I'm going to grab and move out of the way, so then we can turn the water on the little pivot. So that's where I'm going, and that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so grabbing the bales is still one of the things that I feel like I need the most practice with. Getting the angle of the bale forks just right, spraying up to the bale, being able to drive into it and lift it all at the same time. So sometimes it takes a couple practice runs, so we'll see what happens with this one. Of course the phone fell down just as I scooped it and lifted it all in one motion on my first try. That's how things go. But even if you don't believe that it was in one try, I have the bale on the bale forks, so it was a successful scooping mission. Oh, I gotta go across the field track. I hate this part. Okay. It's just very bumpy, and I always feel bad for the bale bouncing like that, but it seems to have survived. So I'm just gonna park this little guy right over here next to some weeds and stuff. I wish it was more square on the forks. It seems like I always tilt one way or the other, but again, with practice, I'll get better. Don't have to go very far. We're going pretty slow. Don't think it's gonna hurt the bale at all. Like I said, I'm just gonna park it right over. I also don't like not being able to see, but I don't think there's anything I can really hit over here. I'm gonna hit that metal stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna park it right here. So I'm gonna lower it down, curl down, I think. Okay, that's too much. Nope, that's way too much. Okay, set it down, curl away, put it in reverse, back up slowly, and it stayed on the ground. Ta-da! That is amateur bale setting downing. That's also the process for putting it on a trailer or stacking them on top of each other, so when they dry we can do that, so Sam can scoop two at a time on the big tractor, put them on something and stack them, but we're going to give them a little bit of time to dry. So that's all for now. Good morning. It is Friday. We are heading out toward the little pivot to stack the hay and then bring it in off the field, and then we're going to, normally when we do that we would make the big hay stacks that you guys have seen in some of our videos before, but because of the rain we want to give them the most chance to dry out, so we're going to put them too high, put them on the trailer, bring them in around the house, and then we're going to kind of try try and spread them out as much as we can, just a single layer, so that they'll dry out. We had the ½ inch of rain that I talked about, and then we haven't had any since, but we had quite a bit of wind yesterday, so hopefully that'll help dry everything out. But as I was pulling out of the hay barn, I realized I don't really have a name for the red tractor. I just call it my little red tractor. But like the semi we call Sneezy, and the blue tractor we call Bluey. But I don't have a name for the red tractor, so if anybody has a good suggestion for what we should call the red tractor, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, I'll just keep calling it my little red tractor. So we're just gonna stack the bales and get them off the field and try to spread them out as best we can. So I think we had a total of 77 bales. So we'll see if we have room to stack 77 bales single file somewhere out here. So it's hard to tell from this one spot, but all of the hay is off the fields. There's some stacked up there. There's some stacked over there on the other side of the truck. These are the last 8 bales off the field. And then there's about 53 down by the mailbox. So let's see if I can get a good picture of that. So the ones on the left are what's left over from the second cutting and some of the yucky straw that we moved just in case fire did come through here. They were closer to the edge of the dry field and not the house or the structure. So there's part of the big pivot. That cornfield's pretty, just all even and flat all the way across. I was a little bit worried about their corn. I didn't know if they were going to be able to. It wasn't very tall at the end of June, but it seems to be doing just fine now. So down there, we had to move the 2 rows on the right closest to the road because the pivot in the cornfield was going to hit them, which we hadn't planned on. Majority of the hay from the little pivot and the big pivot by the road. So like I said, I think there's 53 bales down there. The ones up at the top, the flat ones down there, and then what's on the truck. So I believe 3rd cutting. Looked great on the ground. Super fun using the new rake. Got it baled really fast. Unexpected rainstorm, which I think that's just part of growing hay. But again, 77 bales, so a little bit more than the second cutting. Good looking hay, minus it getting rained on, but hopefully it dries out really well. Like I said, we've got it all spread out in a single layer, so it should get plenty of sun, plenty of wind, and we'll see what happens with it, and we'll see how long it takes before we're ready for the 4th cutting. Thanks for watching.